Welcome to video 3 of the Building 2 with UVs video series. And what we're going to do now is take our UVs that we just finished cutting and setting up and organize them so that we can better find them when we get ready to put our textures on, and also scale everything so that they're the same proportions. All right. So what I'm going to do first is make this window a little bigger. All right. And here is my main part of my building. It's highlighted right now. And if I go to edge mode, we can see that this end is up right here. And I have it right now in the 0 and 1 UV square that I need it in. So I'm going to go ahead and select it and move it down towards the bottom here. I'm going to start at the top and work my way down. This is the top section of my building. I'm going to move it down here. And another thing that I want to do is here at the very beginning, and before I actually scale everything, I want to make sure that all my UVs are facing the right direction. And we can do that by clicking on this tab here. Actually, that's distortions, the one next to that. And make sure that everything is blue. And at this point, it looks like it is. I get to zoom in closer. Blue is good. That's the right side up, and that's what we want for our textures. Even the texture that I had pulled from underneath here also is blue. So that is good. And before I rearrange everything, I think what I'm going to do is scale everything so that I have some area to work with, because obviously everything's too big. It's not going to fit in here. So I'm going to turn off the blue, and now I'm going to turn on my checkers. And when you take a look at it, we can see that all of my checkers are here, and they're all different sizes. And the good thing is I don't see any apparent distortions. Everything looks like it's pretty good. They're all squares or rectangles. There's no swervy things going on or angles or things like that. So I think we're good. Now we just got to make everything fit. So I'm going to start with the side, with the building itself, the main part of the building. I'm going to select it in the UV, so you want to be in UV shell. I'm going to select it, hit R on my keyboard, and now I'm going to try to turn these rectangles back into squares. And that looks pretty good right there. And I'm going to make them a little bigger so I have some room to work with here. And I'm going to call that good, I think. All right. So now that I've got that main piece done, I am going to find this piece here, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to try to make the squares on it match the size of the squares on the building. And as I get bigger, you can see that I'm going to see less and less of the squares. That's okay. Might be just a little bit too big. Just kind of moving around a little bit, trying to see if I can get a good setup here. And it looks pretty close. All right. So next I'm going to now go to the side one. And that's that line right there. Zoom in on it. Power on my keyboard, and I'm going to shrink it down to make the squares get bigger. Okay. And it looks pretty close. Right here is kind of a good spot to look at. And it looks like it might be a little too big still, so let me go the other direction just a little bit. Okay. I think that's going to do it. Now let's flip around to the top side here, which is this next square here. And we're going to have to shrink it down some more, make it larger. Okay, I think we're getting there. Trying to find a good lineup to be able to see. I think this was the best side over here. If I move around a little bit. Okay, that's close. A little overlap here. All right, so now let's get this line done. And the big line. Some of these are going to have to really be shrunk down to go fit into the square. I don't be too big. So it's square to look at. Okay, that's close. Now let's see the top piece. Looks pretty good right there. Yeah. Right. This one looks like it's probably okay to begin with. Darn close enough. Move it around a little bit and see. Might be just a little bit too big. That's it right there. Okay, now the top. There. Okay, so we got the top. Let's get this square done. And that definitely looks a little deformed, so we're going to have to square it up a little bit. And unfortunately, that deforms those sides up there, and that's unfortunate. Let's see here. Let's see. That's right, I got an idea how to fix that. Let's go ahead and get the overall squares down to the right size. That looks pretty good. Deal with that later. Okay, let's get this one. And get the squares back. I think that's good. If you hit F on your keyboard, that will help you quickly find the one that you're working with, the UV you need. A little bit too small. There we go. There we go. I think that's good. Get this one done. Right. Let's see if we can do both of those at the same time. All right, getting there. A little bit at a time. Go ahead and get to this one. It's a little too small, a little too big. I think right there it has it. Good. Same with this one. Let's just start on the side, but I think that's going to be okay. All right, so basically all I'm doing is just moving around, getting all the sides set up. Now I'm going to do the bottom. The bottom isn't really going to be seen, but it's going to take up real estate in there for the UVs. Anyway, so I'm just going to go ahead and make sure it's the right size. Probably is good. All right. So now everything is selected and has been resized. All right. So now I'm going to turn off my selection here. I want to put everything in this first square right here. So what I'm going to do is start to move things around, identify what's what, and get it in place. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the video and get everything into place, and then I'll show you what it looks like once I'm done. Okay, so welcome back. As you can see, I have the building with the squares on it and just one square. If I turn that off, you can see that all my UVs are here inside of my 0 to 1 square. And one thing I want to do is make sure that I have everything pointing in the right direction, so I know which side is which. And so right now it looks as though I have this upside down from the direction that I want it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate everything around and get it so that my top edges are facing upwards. And I'm just going to go ahead and do that process so I know which direction is which as I start to put my UVs on it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, but at this point I think you kind of get the idea. I want to make sure that I have all my edges facing upwards that are my tops. So here's the bottom of my building here, and if I were to click on this edge, you can see that that's the bottom there, my top there. So I'm going to make sure everything else is arranged the same way. And the next video will be exporting the UVs and then applying some texture. All right, thank you and have a good night.